Have you ever stood on the brink of a massive breakthrough? Something you worked for your entire life, only to suddenly feel like it was all a mistake. You've got the skills, you've got the plan, and you've got the power. But in one single moment, your heart sinks, your hands shake, and the victory you're chasing starts to look like a nightmare. You find yourself asking, what am I even doing here? Is any of this actually worth it? If you've ever felt that crushing weight of doubt right at the finish line, you aren't alone. You are standing exactly where the greatest warrior in history stood 5,000 years ago. Welcome back to Rick's Summary, where we turn powerful books into life-changing ideas. Today, we are stepping on to the most famous battlefield in history to witness a conversation that changed the world forever. We are diving into the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. This isn't just an ancient religious text or a list of rules. It is a psychological masterclass. It's a survival guide for the war that happens inside your own head every single day. We're going to follow the story of Arjuna, a hero who had everything but lost his will to fight, and Krishna, the guide who showed him how to master the universe by mastering himself. By the end of this journey, you won't just understand an ancient story. You will have a blueprint to destroy your anxiety, find your true purpose, and learn the secret of right action that allows you to succeed without burning out. Stay with me, because the realization at the end of this battle is something you can use the moment you turn off this video. Imagine the scene. Two massive armies are lined up on a field called Kurukshetra. The air is thick with the sound of blowing conch shells and the neighing of thousands of horses. On one side, you have the forces of justice. On the other, the forces of greed. Arjuna is the greatest archer in the world, and he's fighting for the side of justice. He asks his charioteer, Krishna, to drive him into the middle of the field. He wants to see who he's up against. But when the chariot stops, Arjuna doesn't see enemies. He sees his own uncles. He sees the teachers who taught him to hold a bow. He sees his cousins, his friends, and his childhood mentors. And in that moment, he collapses. Arjuna tells Krishna, "My limbs are failing, my mouth is dry, my whole body is trembling, and my bow is slipping from my hands." He's having a total mental breakdown. He says, "I don't want victory. I don't want a kingdom if I have to step over the bodies of the people I love to get it." This is the ultimate human dilemma. It's the conflict between what we feel like doing and what we know we must do. Arjuna decides that it's better to just quit, to give up his career, his legacy, and his duty, and live as a beggar in the forest rather than face the pain of this struggle. Krishna looks at his friend, who is sitting on the floor of the chariot in tears, and he does something unexpected. He doesn't offer a hug. He doesn't say, "It's okay to run away." He smiles. Krishna calls him out. He tells Arjuna that he's speaking like a wise man, but acting like a fool. He says that the grief Arjuna is feeling is based on a massive misunderstanding of how reality actually works. Krishna begins by explaining the most fundamental truth that we all forget when we're stressed: the difference between the car and the driver. He tells Arjuna, "You are mourning for things that cannot die." He explains that just as we change out of old, worn-out clothes and put on new ones, the soul, the real you inside, simply discards an old body and takes on a new one. Think about your life for a second. Think about the person you were 10 years ago. Your cells have changed, your thoughts have changed, your body is different, but you are still there, observing it all. Krishna says that the soul is eternal. It cannot be cut by weapons, burned by fire, or dried by the wind. When you realize that the core of who you are is indestructible, the fear of failure or loss starts to lose its power. You realize that this battle of life is a temporary play, and your job isn't to worry about the end of the play. It's to play your part perfectly. Arjuna hears this, but he's still stuck. He asks, if the soul is eternal And the world is temporary. Why should I fight at all? Why shouldn't I just sit in a cave and meditate? This brings us to the first major lesson, the trap of inactivity. Krishna explains that no one can truly be inactive. Even if you sit still, your mind is still running, your body is still breathing, your nature is still driving you. If you try to repress your nature, you only become a pretender. The secret isn't to stop working, it's to change why you work. And that leads us to the concept that has inspired some of the most successful people in history, karma yoga. Arjuna is still looking for an exit strategy. He says, "Krishna, you're confusing me. You say knowledge is great, but then you tell me to do this horrible work. Tell me one thing clearly. How do I find peace?" Krishna responds with the gold standard of productivity and mental health. He says, "You have a right to your duty, but you have no right to the results of your actions." Let that sink in for a moment. This is the cure for almost all modern stress. Why are you anxious right now? It's probably because you're obsessed with a result you can't fully control. You're worried about whether the video will get views, whether the boss will like the report, or whether the person you like will call you back. You are living in the future, attached to a fruit that hasn't grown yet. Krishna tells Arjuna that when you work for the fruit, you become a slave to the outcome. If you get the result, you're briefly happy. If you don't, you're miserable. Either way, you're on a roller coaster you don't control. But if you shift your focus entirely to the work itself, if you do your duty because it is the right thing to do with total excellence, you become free. The anxiety disappears because the work is happening now and you have 100% control over the now. Imagine going through your day like this. You do your best, you provide the most value you can, and then you surrender the result. Once the arrow leaves the bow, the warrior's job is done. Whether it hits the target is up to the wind, the distance, and destiny. By letting go of the target, you actually become a better archer because your hands aren't shaking with the fear of missing. This is karma yoga, finding union with the divine through your daily grind. Krishna tells Arjuna that work performed with this mindset doesn't create karmic debt. It doesn't weigh you down. It actually purifies you. But Arjuna has another question, one that we all struggle with. "Krishna, you're telling me to control my mind, but my mind is like the wind. It's restless, it's strong, and it won't sit still. Trying to control it feels impossible." Krishna doesn't disagree. He says, yes, the mind is hard to curb, but it can be done through two things, constant practice and detachment. Now, Krishna uses a powerful image. He says, your senses are like wild horses. The mind is the reins. The intelligence is the driver. And you, the self, are the passenger in the chariot. If the horses are out of control, the chariot is on your way to a disaster. You want to train your horses and use your intelligence to steer the mind rather than letting your mind steer you. The key lesson during this part is that you are not the body. The first discovery Arjuna makes is that his identity is deeper than his physical shell. Most of us spend our lives trying to keep the car pretty, forgetting that we are the driver. When you realize you are an eternal observer, the small dramas of daily life don't feel like life or death situations anymore. You gain a bird's-eye view of your own struggles. The second discovery is that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Suffering comes from the attachment to how we think things should be. Krishna teaches us to be like a lotus leaf. The lotus grows in the mud and sits in the water, but the water doesn't stick to it. You can live in this messy world, but you don't have to let the mess soak into your soul. Arjuna is starting to get it, but now he has a practical problem. Krishna, you're telling me to control my mind, but my mind is like the wind. It's restless, it's strong, and it won't sit still. Trying to control it feels impossible. Krishna doesn't disagree. He says, yes, the mind is hard to curb, but it can be done through two things, constant practice and detachment.
Arjuna is worried that if he tries this spiritual path and fails, he'll lose everything.
He'll lose his worldly pleasure and his spiritual goal. He'll be like a torn cloud, belonging nowhere. Krishna gives him a powerful assurance. A person who does good never meets with destruction. He explains that spiritual progress is like a bank account that never expires. If you try to improve yourself and you die before you're perfect, you don't lose that progress. You take it with you into the next life. You start where you left off. This is why some people seem naturally wise or disciplined from a young age. They are just continuing a journey they started a long time ago. Now, Krishna takes the teaching even deeper. He begins to reveal the secret of the three modes of nature. He explains that everything in the material world, your food, your thoughts, your habits, even the people you hang out with, is governed by three forces called gunas. First, there is sattva, goodness. This is the mode of light, clarity, and health. It's when you wake up early, eat fresh food, and feel peaceful. It brings happiness, but it can also bring a different kind of trap, being proud of how good or smart you are. Second, there is rajas, passion. This is the mode of intense desire, hustle, and greed. It's when you're driven to win at any cost. It feels exciting at first, but it always ends in stress and exhaustion. Third, there is tamas, ignorance. This is the mode of darkness, laziness, and confusion. It's when you oversleep, procrastinate, and use substances to numb your brain. It feels like rest, but it's actually a downward spiral. Krishna tells Arjuna that most people are like puppets being pulled by these three strings. One day you're in goodness, the next day you're in passion, and the next day you're in ignorance. The goal of the Gita is to help you transcend the modes, to become the observer who sees these forces working but doesn't get dragged around them. Think about your own life. When you're scrolling on your phone for 3 hours, that's tamas. When you're working a 14-hour day just to buy a car you don't need, that's rajas. When you're reading a book and feeling calm, that's sattva. Krishna is telling you, rise above. He then explains the yoga of meditation. He tells Arjuna that a person who has conquered their mind is their own best friend, but for one who hasn't, their mind is their greatest enemy. Think about that. Your mind is the only thing you are always with. If it's an enemy, your life is a constant war. If it's a friend, you can be happy anywhere, even in a prison cell. But Arjuna is still looking at the soldiers across from him. He's still thinking, how can I hurt these people? Krishna realizes that Arjuna needs more than just philosophy. He needs to see the reality from the perspective of the universe itself. And this is where the story reaches its most epic moment. Krishna begins to reveal his true identity. He tells Arjuna, I am the taste of water. I am the light of the sun and the moon. I am the ability in man and the intelligence of the intelligent. He says that everything in existence is strung on me like pearls on a thread. Arjuna is fascinated, but he's still seeing Krishna as his friend and his charioteer. He asks, Krishna, if you are really all of this, can I see it? Can you show me your universal form? Krishna agrees. He tells Arjuna, you cannot see this with your human eyes. I will give you divine vision. Suddenly, the world as Arjuna knows it disappears. Krishna stands before him, but he is no longer just a man. He is the form that defies description. He is the Vishwarup, the universal form. Arjuna sees a being with unlimited mouths, unlimited eyes, and unlimited weapons. He sees the radiance of 1,000 suns rising all at once. Inside this one body, Arjuna sees the entire universe, the planets, the stars, the past, the present, and the future, all happening at the same time. He sees every living being, from the smallest ant to the highest gods. But then, the vision turns terrifying. Arjuna sees the very battlefield he is standing on. He sees the kings and the soldiers on both sides rushing into the flaming mouths of this massive being. He sees them being crushed between the teeth of time. He realizes that everyone he was afraid to kill is already being consumed by the inevitable cycle of the universe. Arjuna is shaking. His hair stands on end. He falls to his knees and cries out, "Who are you? What is your mission?" Krishna speaks with a voice that sounds like thunder. "Time I am, the destroyer of worlds." He tells Arjuna, "Even without your action, all these soldiers will eventually be gone. Destiny has already moved. They are already slain by my arrangement. Therefore, get up, win glory, conquer your enemies, and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. Just become an instrument in the fight." This is the climax moment of the script. Think about the pressure you feel every day. You feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. You think that if you fail, the world ends. You think you are the one doing everything. The Gita says, "Relax, you are just the instrument." The universe has a plan that is much bigger than your ego. Your job isn't to control the whole world. Your job is to be a clean, sharp instrument for the truth. When you realize that the outcome is already handled by the master architect, the performance anxiety of life vanishes. You can fight your battle with total focus, not because you're desperate to win, but because fighting is what you were made to do. Arjuna is overwhelmed. He realizes that the person he's been treating like a buddy, the person he joked with and ate dinner with, is the source of all existence. He begs for forgiveness for his casual behavior. Krishna, with infinite kindness, returns to his gentle, two-armed human form. He calms Arjuna down and tells him that this vision he just saw, this all-access pass to the secrets of the universe, is almost impossible to see even for the gods. It can only be seen, Krishna says, through undivided devotion. Now, Arjuna is no longer the same man who dropped his bow at the start of the day. He has seen the beginning and the end. He knows his soul is eternal. He knows he has a duty to perform. But there is one final piece of the puzzle. Krishna needs to explain the final surrender.
We are now at the end of the conversation. The armies are still waiting. The sun is high. Krishna has explained the soul, the work, the mind, the modes of nature, and the universal vision. Now he summarizes everything into the secret of secrets. He tells Arjuna about the three kinds of happiness. First, there is happiness in goodness. This is the happiness that feels like poison at the beginning, but like nectar at the end. Think of a workout, or a difficult study session, or a hard conversation. It's tough in the moment, but it leads to long-term peace. Second, there is happiness in passion. This is the happiness that feels like nectar at the beginning, but like poison at the end. This is the junk food, the impulsive purchase, the toxic relationship. It feels great for 5 minutes, but it leaves you empty and sick. Third, there is happiness in ignorance. This is the happiness of sleep, laziness, and delusion. It's poison from start to finish. Krishna is asking Arjuna, and he's asking you, which kind of life do you want to live? Then, Krishna gives the most controversial and powerful advice in the whole book. He says, it is better to do your own duty, even if you do it imperfectly, than to do someone else's duty perfectly. In our world, we are constantly trying to be someone else. We look at influencers, celebrities, and successful people, and we try to copy their lives. We take jobs we hate to buy things we don't need, to impress people we don't like. The Gita says, stop. You have a dharma, a unique nature, and a unique path. If you are a teacher, teach. If you are a builder, build. If you are a warrior, fight. Don't try to be a perfect version of someone else. Be an imperfect version of yourself. That is how you serve the universe. Finally, Krishna looks Arjuna in the eye and delivers the closing statement. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. Do not fear. This doesn't mean quit your job and go to a temple. It means let go of the steering wheel. Stop trying to micromanage the universe. Stop worrying about whether people like you or whether you'll be famous. Align yourself with the highest truth. Do your work with love and trust that you are being taken care of. Krishna tells Arjuna, I have told you everything. Now deliberate on it fully and then do as you wish. This is the ultimate sign of respect. Krishna doesn't force Arjuna, he gives him the knowledge and then leaves the choice to him. Arjuna stands up. He picks up his legendary bow, the Gandiva. The shaking has stopped. The confusion is gone. He says, my illusion is dispelled. I have regained my memory by your grace. I am now firm, free from doubt, and I am ready to act.
Arjuna didn't change the war. He didn't change the fact that he had to fight. He changed himself. The external world was exactly the same chaos it was an hour ago, but the internal world of the warrior was now a kingdom of peace. The Bhagavad Gita tells us that life is a battle. You cannot run away from it. If you run to the forest, you'll just fight with your own thoughts. The only way out is through. But you don't have to fight alone. You are an eternal soul in a temporary body. Your only obligation is to do your duty without being a slave to the results. And your greatest strength is your connection to the higher self. When you realize that you are just an instrument in a divine plan, you become unstoppable. You can work harder than anyone else because you aren't afraid of losing. You can be kinder than anyone else because you don't need anything in return. You become the Stita Prajna, the person of steady wisdom. If this summary helped you find even a little bit of clarity today, please hit that like button. It helps us share these timeless truths with more people who are struggling on their own battlefields. If you want to keep turning the world's most powerful books into life-changing ideas, make sure to subscribe to Rick's Summary. Tell me in the comments, what is the battle you are facing right now, and how can you apply the idea of detaching from the results to win it? Until next time, pick up your bow and play your part.